Hi, in this second video, we're going to work on the technique used in this heart, which is heat embossing. So for that, you need your ink, you need your embossing powder, a heat gun, and one of the hearts. Now let me tell you, when you look at the hearts you've got included in your kit, and of course I'm not going to be able to pick these up, you can sort of tell the difference. One of them's more textured than the other. For purposes of this, it doesn't matter which one you pick up. Either one is just fine. So grab one of them. We're ready to go with this. I've got my stamp already mounted on the clear block. I'm going to use my white ink. Again, make sure you use one of the inks that's specified in the instruction sheet. This is not paper, this is plastic material that we're working with. And so we want to make sure that it's an ink that's compatible, that will stay with the plastic. If you use an incompatible ink, it's likely to just smash all over the place and not create a nice result. So I've got my balloon laying here on scratch paper. I've got my embossing powder sitting very nearby. I've got a well ink stamp, and I'm good to go. There's not too much to worry about placement here, because however I place it, it's going to be fine. But I'm going to set it down, again, put some pressure around the stamp to make sure everything's taken care of. I'm going to let it rest for just a second while I open up my embossing powder. Now I'm going to carefully lift this up. In most cases, your little piece of Vertigo is going to be attached, so you're carefully going to pry that off and set it back down on your scratch paper. Set your stamp aside and pour over your embossing powder. Yes, you will have over-stamped your image, so there'll be areas from your stamp, because it's way bigger than the little hearts we're working with, that affect your scratch paper, but that's okay. That's why it's called scratch paper. It's not a problem. So once you're sure all the areas are covered, I'm just going to tap off the excess. Again, you want to be careful with fingers at this point in time. You don't want to get your fingers too much on that image, because you could end up taking off the X's and O's that you just stamped on and covered with embossing powder. Now I'm going to set that aside for a moment so that I can return this extra embossing powder to the jar. This is an important step. Most of us can't afford to waste the product. It's very usable for the next time. So get the lid back on right away. Obviously, this is a point where you want to go and clean your stamp off and make sure that it's taken care of. You are going to take your little heart and heat emboss it. Use your heat gun. Be careful with the heat gun. This will tolerate the heat very well, but it's like any other heat embossing project. When you go too far, you begin to have problems. When you go too far on paper, you see that paper scorching. When you go too far on plastics like Vertigo, it starts to curl up because you've melted it. So watch your stamped image that's covered with embossing powder. You'll see it go from this sort of dull image, and you'll begin to see it come back to life. You'll see the powders melt, it'll get shiny again. So go ahead and heat emboss this balloon, clean up your stamp, reset your work area, and come back and join me for video number 3, where we'll work on the techniques for the other balloon in the card. See you in a few minutes. Bye.